So, all right. So this week we are talking about Missouri. Missouri was originally settled by the Quapaw and Osage or Osage indigenous populations. I apologize if I butchered those names. The state quote of Missouri is the welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. The state bird is the eastern bluebird. The state flower is the hawthorn blossom. It was admitted into the Union in 1821, August 10th, to be precise. And the state dessert is ice cream, which I think is awesome because ice cream is wonderful. So now I'm going to bring back in from last week, Caitlin Eddy again. Thank you for being back, Caitlin.
Yeah,
Hello.
hello.
Uh, it was a long layover, like 2 minutes of
It
me
was,
freaking
and I
doing
chose to wear the same outfit, so don't
that.
stress
Yeah.
it.
Oh, great. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Me too. So let's talk. So now we're gonna do the same thing we did for Hawaii for Missouri. So let's talk a little bit about Missouri. When did you live there? How long did you live there? What was it like?
So I moved to Missouri after I graduated, literally the day I graduated college.
Oh
Um,
wow.
skipped out and went to Missouri. I got offered a job, and as any college graduate, you were desperate to get in and working in your field. So I got offered a job at a psych hospital in Missouri and took it because it was a good opportunity for me to like live somewhere new. And I was ready for a fresh start. So I went and I lived there for about 5 years, met my husband, got married, had a baby. And so, yeah, really got like a full 5 years experience of the middle of Missouri.
Nice. What city or district or town?
I lived in Osage Beach, which is at the Lake of the Ozarks, which if that
Okay.
sounds familiar, because it's where they filmed or where the story is based on, like the Ozark show.
Oh great. Cool.
And we did actually get to meet Jason Bateman when he was there filming.
Oh cool. That's fun.
Yeah,
Jason Bateman, hello, if you're watching, which you're not, but that'd be cool if you were.
if you were.
Um, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's really cool too, is you think about the celebrities that are from different places as well, and kind of how they see themselves as like representatives
Mhm.
of that state. So this is interesting too, because last week we talked about in Hawaii how you spent teenage years there, very formative years, but you spent um, a very vulnerable time, I would imagine, right? In the post college years, people do not talk enough about how extreme the experience is from the ages of like 22 to 28.
Yeah.
When you're the safety net of college, the safety net of your world is kind of it's gone a little bit, right?
Mhm.
You're really learning how to adult a lot of people for the first time. There's a lot of uncertainty there.
Yeah.
So Missouri, it's kind of interesting that uh, another place we're talking about is a very formative, kind of a formative time for you.
Yeah.
So you're starting to settle down. You're getting married. You're having a child. So what was the experience like in Missouri as far as interactions with people, things to do, uh, the overall just atmosphere in Missouri, and what was
Mhm.
that like for you?
I think it's a little bit different because I lived in a very rural part of Missouri. I don't think I knew it at the time, like how middle of nowhere it was. Luckily, there is like the Lake of the Ozarks, and there's a little bit of civilization right there, but really, it's after that, it's kind of the middle of nowhere, super rural. And so, I got aspects of Missouri, but also like rural country living too in all of that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Did you like have a farm, or were you living on a farm?
I when I did buy a house there that was kind of on some lands we had like chickens and stuff, but I didn't have like we lived near like a cow farm and stuff.
Got
Uh,
you.
or we like knew people that had farms, but we didn't live on one. I moved into like a tiny townhouse. It was $700 a month, which is like so cheap compared to what rent
Yeah.
is now.
I was like, "What? 7?
Yeah,
That sounds amazing. My gosh."
yeah, that was another huge like pushing point for me to go there. It was like I could afford to live on my own, and
As
because
opposed to here,
yeah,
that's
it
a
was
challenge now.
affordable. I had a job in the career that I studied,
Right.
like so. Yeah, it was that. Lake of the Ozarks in general has a really large like retirement age um population.
Okay.
So I felt kind of out in that way. Like there wasn't, if I moved to a city, there's tons of young people my age. When I moved to Lake of the Ozarks, everybody is like 55 plus, but they're also crazy party animals. I don't know why that area
That's amazing.
is that way. Lake of the Ozarks, I don't know if anybody knows anything about it. It's a crazy like party vacationy thing. Um,
So people, you're going door to door to people like in their 70s going, "Hey, I got to work in the morning. Stop."
Yeah, I was like, I go to the bar and everybody. I was like, this is like my parents. Why? Where are all the people my age? I don't understand. And then yeah, that's when I learned like there's a huge population of like 55 plus, and people. It's one of those places people go to retire because it's a lake and stuff too. So
Sure.
that was different. But then there's also you have all the young people that live in the country but come there to work, and yeah, it was such a weird culturally like a weird experience.
Mhm.
As stuff to do, there is like a little downtown strip area with bars. There's the lake, which there's like boating and stuff is huge. There's a lot of really cool restaurants on the lake there. Um, and then like country stuff. And then again, nature is huge. Missouri nature is really, really beautiful, really pretty and unique. Um, So we spent a lot of time checking out. There's a lot of like fresh, like streams and stuff. And we trout fishing was really big for us. We love trout fishing, um,
Awesome.
and just going to like places where the water is coming directly from underground and it is crystal clear blue and ice cold, and you could just drink the water there because it's so pure.
So
Uh,
not the same as Richmond.
yeah, no,
Oh my
not
gosh, no.
seeing that kind of water. I was like, this is out of like a movie. This is so
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's freezing cold. So you can't swim in it, but you can look at it and just admire that it is like, oh, pristine. Super rocky there too. So like
Yeah.
the drinking water is very, very heavy in minerals. Um, and
Did
just yeah, rocky.
did so did you ever see, you talked about nature a lot. Did you ever see an eastern bluebird?
I don't even know what an eastern bluebird is. Is it just a bluebird?
I
So maybe
guess.
probably. Um,
Uh
go
what
you
about
have state things. And I was
what about
like,
a
yeah,
hawthorn blossom?
that. There's tons of like cougars. I remember were big. I
Okay.
saw so many bald eagles. It is crazy. I don't think I'd ever seen a bald eagle in the wild in my life until I moved to Missouri, and they're everywhere. So cool. Um, a lot of like water birds and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ever
I,
see a hawthorn blossom?
a what? A hawthorn blossom?
Yeah, so that's the state flower.
Maybe. I don't know. I
That's
was
okay.
more. It's so funny because you go through those, and the state animal and then the state food I pick up on both times, and I was like, neither of those I would have said the state. Like the
Oh,
state.
really?
No, there's so many typical Missouri things, and I was like, how is that not the state food?
Right. So
Yeah.
ice cream not a big thing in Missouri?
I mean, it's like it's a thing, but like
Right.
ooey gooey butter cake, that is the thing in
I've
Missouri.
heard of that. Yeah, I have heard of that. That is something that people talk about. Like I have seen those, and
Mhm.
like like those like you'll see like I don't know like different websites will be like the one food you need to try from each state. I believe that's the one that like I see.
Ooey gooey butter cake. Okay, you can't go to Missouri and not get that cake. I'm sure it's terrible for you, but it is amazing. It is so good. How is that not the state dessert? I don't know. And like toasted
Mhm.
ravioli, you can't go anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's Italian or not see toasted ravioli in
Oh,
Missouri.
really?
That is, I don't know why that's so big. I don't know where that came from, but everywhere, no matter what, it's an appetizer at every place you go in Missouri. Toasted
Now,
ravioli.
in interactions with people in Missouri, are is it mostly like your typical Midwestern people talking, and like, great, or like that kind of area with just like, people are just like chill.
Yeah, there's a weird mix of northern influence and southern influence in Missouri. I don't know if it's
Hmm.
just because it's such a central state.
Right.
Um, so some people say a lot of terms that are like more northern, like bubbler and buggy for shopping cart. But then there are people that
Oh
are from
wow.
that say the southern terms like shopping cart and like grocery bag and water fountain. So it's a weird mixture. It's like where the north meets the south weirdly, um, culturally in a lot of ways. Maybe it would be more influential if I lived in like in either Kansas City or St.
Right.
Louis. You know, 'cause I'm sure that those have their own
Sure.
subculture. Too, but where I
I'm
lived,
sure
it was
they do. Just like I know, like barbecue, for example, is a huge
mhm,
thing in Kansas City.
huge,
Uh,
huge.
did that trickle into where you were at all? Like, was it a very specific, like you're eating like the sweet barbecue from like the
Weirdly,
molasses?
weirdly
Really?
not. So we where we lived, I'm like we were like dead central. We were 3 hours from St. Louis and 3 hours from Missouri.
Okay.
Uh, I mean from Missouri, from St. Louis and Kansas City. So we were
Right.
like 3 hour trip to either one, and it, I don't feel like Kansas City had a huge impact, like the barbecue and stuff. I kind of
Hmm.
wish it did because oh my god, it's so good. I feel
Right.
like, and same with like St. Louis. I mean, I knew people that were from St. Louis, but I feel like food wise, it was just typical Midwestern. Yeah, typical Midwestern rural
Right.
food with
Right.
like Missouri has their own type of pizza, so that
Oh,
was
do they?
yeah. St. Louis style pizza. They use a specific kind of Provel cheese. You
Oh,
either
okay.
love it or hate it. Like some people love it, and they also cut it into squares instead of triangles. I don't know why, but they do like little squares. It's a
Oh,
thin crust pizza
interesting.
in little square, and they cut it into little squares.
There's a place in Chester, Virginia called Lido's that does that,
Really,
but it's really thin,
really,
like crispy crust. So
yes.
it's okay.
Yeah, that's a St. Louis thing. And then the Provel cheese. It like has to be the thin crust cut into squares with the Provel cheese. And I remember being like, why is it cut like this? And why is the cheese different? That's
What
a very thing. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Provelci. So uh is it like does it have like the same kind of a taste as like a mozzarella, or is it way different?
A combination of certain cheeses. I looked it up once because I was like, never heard of this.
Right.
It's like a combination of cheeses. I remember my husband could not stand it.
Right.
I, yeah, he's from like his family's from New York though, so I feel like that's just cultural.
Okay.
A
Yeah,
pizza.
they have opinions of pizza up there.
Yeah. I feel like you just took it offensively anyway. I thought it was fine. It
Right.
was just different.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, it was cool. I just didn't expect pizza to be different. I don't know. I never heard of like St. Louis style pizza.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I had either. I'd heard of food wise. I don't know what I'd heard of from St. I'd heard of the cake, the ooey gooey cake. Uh,
amazing.
now, the indigenous cultures
Mhm.
in Missouri, unfortunately, in so many countries on the mainland of America, the native population's influence on culture has been, very much downplayed. And
Yes,
um, how about Missouri? Was that your experience as well, that you didn't see a lot of that?
it's the same exact thing. So like a lot of the schools are named out of the Osage Indians. Like their whole
Osage. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's how you.
yeah,
Okay, Osage. All
the
right.
Osage. That's their like their schools and their mascots are an entire population of people and still are. I remember because it's like a rural area, a lot of my patients were generally Caucasian. I did not have a lot of patients from different cultures at all, which was something that was it was very non-diverse. So when I would work with a patient, sometimes, especially if they were older, they would ask me if I was Native American. They were very concerned about that. I guess because I tan really well and I have dark hair. Um, and so they were always like preoccupied with it. But did I ever see anybody who was actually like Osage Indian? No. Did I ever see a reservation? No. It was completely like whitewashed and just
Right.
used as,
So different, and that's, I think, a really important point too, is that sounds like it's completely different experience than Hawaii would have been. So, so it people tend to, and we talked about this in another episode with Amagati, our founder. People tend to lump people from other countries into one basket, like stereotypically, when they're trying to define people from other cultures and other countries and everything. Like, you'll think, oh, you're from India, so you must do this, 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 and this. Well, no, it's a whole country. Same thing here in America, right? Like,
Yeah.
completely different, right? Like, completely different experience, completely different, unfortunate remnants of colonialism and imperialism.
Yes.
Um,
Still out there, yeah.
for sure. And it's just like, it's crazy to me that we tend to, in like our media, I don't know about the media in other countries, but in our media in America, it's so easy for people to just lump people based on a stereotype. But in America, we have so many different cultures and so many different experiences that you can't just say this is the prototypical American and then have, an accurate image just like you can of any country.
Right.
So I think that that's very important to see, like, like you had said, that it almost sounds like it's very almost gentrified or culturally very unfortunately whitewashed. So that's kind of the mission statement here of this show, is to try to bring people together and to appreciate other cultures. And
Right.
just and one thing I applaud you for is just like your excitement when discussing Hawaii and the different cultures there is what we're talking about when we're talking about cultural appreciation. Like, you could just see how much you appreciated that. And that's awesome. I'm really happy that you got to have that experience, and hopefully more people
Sure.
get to have something like that. Where because I think it helps you to be empathetic, as a person, to get to experience different cultures, because we're all human beings and we should all have that love and appreciation for each other, and what makes us unique, and what makes us unique is what makes us awesome. So
Right. And I think definitely experiencing that culture and knowing people from that culture and having people that I consider family from that culture helped me. Like, when we were having a lot of discussions about race, and especially when we were talking about like using nations and indigenous peoples' tribe names as like for sporting and mascots and street names and school names.
super
I
great. Yeah.
A lot of times I would sit there and I'd be like, well, how would that make me feel if they did that with my cousin's culture or with my friends that were Hawaiian? And it really helped me put that into perspective, because I know anybody that's Native American and like culturally Native American? Not necessarily,
Right.
but I do know people from another culture. And so like that really, I kind of use that as a way to kind of check myself and check my bias too, is using like my experiences with other cultures that I have directly had contact with.
And that's an important and mature thing to do too, because we all do have those biases, right?
Yeah.
Based on our experiences, and it doesn't make you a bad person to have those. It just means like, oh, you
Yeah.
have these, so you kind of need to take a minute to think about that, and try to put things in perspective when it comes to empathizing. And hopefully maybe things will continue to get better with that. Like, the Cleveland Indians changing their name was I think a huge step in the right direction. Same with the Washington Redskins doing the same thing.
I know that was so big, and I was so happy that happened. But
I was too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. I'm real hoping one day that they do it.
Yeah.
It's a little harder in Georgia to accomplish that. I think just people have like just
the same for at least where we lived in Missouri. There's a big lack of excitement about change there, and
right.
I mean, it's hard. A lot of these people have lived in Missouri their whole lives and have only experienced that Missouri culture, and so they don't have a lot of understanding of like different cultures and being a little bit more open to change and how it impacts other people. And I hope someday they will. Yeah.
So shout out to the people who might. I want to make sure I say, is it Osoji?
Oh, Osage.
Osage. Shout out to individuals
Osage
with that heritage or a part of that culture who are living in Missouri. We see you. Thank you for being you. And hopefully, hopefully change is coming. Representation hopefully is coming. So that's a nice transition into our so next question would be, if if you could do one thing in Missouri, if one person had one day to spend in Missouri, whether it be, in the Ozark area where you were from or anywhere you visited there, what would you have them do?
Kind of goes off of my nature thing because I just think
Yeah.
the nature, experiencing the outdoors in different places is so cool. But if you
Absolutely.
Missouri and you went to that general area, I would say the one thing you have to do is go eat at a cave restaurant or go to a cave in general because there's so
Let's
many.
talk. Well, yeah, let's go back to that.
Yes, so cool.
Cave restaurant.
Yeah, so brownie points to my husband on our like first date. He took me to a cave restaurant, and it's a restaurant. I don't remember in that like middle of Missouri area that is in a cave. Like you have to climb up some stairs. You have to take like a bus. You have to park, and then they bus you up the side of this like rocky cavern, and they seat you inside of a cave, and they cook your food, and it's like a whole. You're in a cave eating food. So cool. Was the food like generic, like Missouri food? Yeah. But it was such a cool experience. And there's more than one cave restaurant in Missouri. I think there's one closer to St. Louis. Um, there's one in the middle of nowhere where we lived. So, but there's also different like cave tours and stuff around. There's so many different, because I said Missouri is so rocky. There's so many cool different caverns and caves you could go experience. We did a lot of tours there and got to see like prehistoric drawings and remains found in caves from like, whoa, way, way, way long time ago. And even got to see the like footprint of a cave bear from like prehistoric times. I mean, just
That's
cool
really cool.
stuff.
That's
Cool stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, Missouri
I
has a lot
would,
of, like untouched land and stuff. So like Native American artifacts are really easier to find there. Just because there's so much untouched land, and then like the caves and stuff. There's so much stuff back in those caves that people haven't discovered that you get to see. So
I'm
cool.
still, I'm still stuck on the cave restaurant.
Yeah, it was
Honey, honey, we got to go to Missouri.
definitely coolest first date ever. It was so
We
cool.
we got to go to a cave restaurant. Thanks.
It's
Well, yeah, that like seriously blew my mind. I like that just sounds like such a cool, unique experience.
yeah.
Is Missouri where the I know that I read somewhere that there are cheese caves somewhere where like the government has like the surplus government cheese. Is that Missouri that
I don't know. It sounds very
there,
Wisconsin, but
it
there's
might
so many caves in Missouri. I
yeah,
would not be surprised. There's so
right.
many.
Just
Um,
imagine you're just like walking into a cave and you're just like, look at all the cheese.
Look at these cheese wheels. This is cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean I would live there. Uh, so again, I love that. Like again, we did talk about the unfortunate negative of the cultural appropriation, but there
Yep.
is always something wonderful, like in nature, like just the idea of these caves sound really cool, and just the nature in general in Missouri sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Caitlin, for spending time with us today.
Hmm.
I am looking forward to continuing to have conversations with people about these different cultures and these different cultures within our own country and different experiences within our own country. Thank you for taking time to share your experiences with us today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.